whose countries have become the battleground for players who seek to impose their influence. And Libya is currently one of the most evident cases, but it is not the only one. So in this scenario, which is complicated in and of itself, the tsunami of the pandemic has come in recent months with its terrible health and socioeconomic effects. Recession, unemployment, reduction in trade, all of these things have affected both sides of the Mediterranean. On the European side, Italy and Spain have been particularly hard hit with regard to Europe, but the countries of the southern side have experienced a deepening of their economic fragility, of their unemployment. And in Europe, as in the rest of the Mediterranean, the crisis has affected above all the services, in particular tourism, which for many of these countries, tourism has been an important component of their GDP. And here as well, the weaker parts of the population, the more vulnerable people, young people and women, have been hard hit. They are the ones that have experienced the negative effects of the pandemic. And new crises are on the horizon, like new conflicts, social unrest and upheaval, and an increase in migrations towards Europe. We need to recall that nobody leaves their family, their country, and their loved ones lightheartedly, but they're driven by wars, by the violation of fundamental rights, and by the lack of prospects for the future, for their future. Every young people who leaves his country, not out of choice but out of need, is for everyone a major defeat. And therefore, it is of fundamental importance for the European Union to fight against this phenomenon and to do all it can to reverse the current trends. Invest in stability of the Mediterranean area and of the neighbors. This is a priority interest for Europe. It is irrenounceable. Many critics have complained about Europe's incapacity, inability to act effectively faced with these conflicts and the crises that were occurring in these countries. The governments of the European Union have been accused of acting in their own national interest and at times in conflict with one another, in opposition to one another. Many of the criticism made to the European Union are exaggerated, in my view, and ungenerous. But many we can agree on many of them, however. Now, a main economic role by the Union is important, and the Union has not done what it should have done in many cases. It is a prominent protagonist, but often it did not have the strength, the force, the responsibility of doing all it could to overcome the conflicts. So it plays an important role on the basis of decision-making systems that could be improved. For instance, we should go beyond the principle of unanimity, because it is a very big obstacle to the rapidity and efficacy of Europe's action. We must continue also to work to strengthen the defense of Europe, endow Europe with a strategic capacity which should not be in opposition to but complementary to the existing mechanisms. And above all, strengthening the European Union to become an instrument of peace, because we will undoubtedly need to increase, to enhance our defense, the ability of defense, but we will also need to play our role and our function of promoting dialogue, friendship, and cooperation. It is of fundamental importance to use our weight and the economic capacity of Europe, have them have their say. And just as what is being done internally, the EU must use all of the instruments it has to help our Mediterranean partners to fight against the very severe consequences that have an impact on the social sphere, on employment, and that worsen the economic crisis. So we cannot just provide financial assistance, but we need to work together to promote development, to promote cooperation and synergies with the financial institutions at the international level, with the private sector, and help our partners to adopt sustainable growth patterns that are consistent with our priorities, the priorities that we have indicated in the Green Deal. The goal is that of a harmonious development program. There cannot be stability and prosperity without democracy, without respect for fundamental human rights, especially with a view to the medium to long term. The European Union is first and foremost a community of values, and therefore it cannot ignore within its boundaries, but also in the relationship with others. It cannot forego the principles which are its bedrock and in which it holds high. There are in the Mediterranean, there are terrible personal rights and freedoms are not being complied with, and a good policy, a neighborhood policy, requires the respect for human rights. I thank you, and I hope that we will be able to meet soon in person and not through these means.